Welcome to Valley Newsline. Hello, I'm Ron Whitlock. On the program today, we're going to talk about the fact that, just like we all saw on our television sets over the last year, Katrina, federal levees failing, rising water flooding homes, individuals, residents of those homes going up into their attics as the water continued to rise. Those that had the capability of busting through their rooftops and get on top of their roofs, they survived. The others died in Katrina flooded New Orleans. Could that happen in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas and northern Mexico? Also a delta, just like the delta of New Orleans and the Mississippi River. We're going to talk about that issue because on the November 7th election ballot in the county of Hidalgo, you're going to have the opportunity, if you're a resident and voter in that county, to vote on whether or not to spend $100 million to protect the citizens, the residents, the area, the economy of that area of Greater South Texas. Talk about that issue on the program. Tito Palacios Zafar, Hidalgo County Commissioner and member of the Hidalgo County Flood Control District Number 1, sit on both those boards, right?
Yes.
Okay. Dan Sutter, also on the program. Dan, new to the Rio Grande Valley, Department of Economics and Finance, UT Pan Am, an associate professor there, an expert on the issue of weather and weather phenomenon and their impact thereof on the economies of regions, in particular on the Rio Grande Valley. He has researched what happened during Beulah, trying to give us some kind of prognostication on this program today of what we could see if in fact we have another Beulah-type flooding situation. Later, Carlos Cascos, former DPS commissioner, currently a candidate on the ballot November 7 for the Republican candidate for Cameron County judge in Cameron County, running against incumbent Democrat Gilberto Hinojosa. Tell us, if you would, Commissioner Palacios, what's going to be on the November 7 ballot as individuals watching this program go into the ballot box. What are they voting for?
Well, Ron, we have had this item on the agenda for several weeks, explaining to the general public what situation or the potential problems or dangers if we, God forbid, have a hurricane come this way. If we have heavy rains, if we have experienced, if we have 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of rain in a matter of 2-3 hours, we're going to get flooded out. The system that's in place now is not capable of handling all this water. The system that's in place is a system that was designed 20, 30 years ago based on agriculture use of the land, for the most part. Nowadays, we see apartments, we see homes, we see parking lots, we see new stores, a bunch of them.
You talk about the flooding situation during Beulah. According to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers report done after Beulah on behalf of the federal government, explaining exactly what the impact was economically, the losses, how they tabulated after Beulah was in the history book, so to speak. In Hidalgo County, following Beulah, $34.7 million in damages of the effects of the hurricane in 1967. The main source of damage occurred due to inadequate local drainage systems. 66% in your county were the direct result of an inadequate drainage system, and you're just telling me that you're of the opinion that the system is as bad today as it was then, if not worse, because of urbanization?
The problem has changed, or the situation has changed. Like I say, the system was designed years ago to handle a different type of situation. Due to the new parking lots, the new highways, the new buildings, the new construction, water is limited to where it's going to run off. Now, you mentioned $30-some million worth of damage.
$1.2 billion in today's dollars.
In today's dollars, it would amount to $1.some billion. And we're making improvements the last 6 or 8 years. We've been making some improvements. But anytime you're going to have a heavy rain again, 4 or 5 inches in 2 hours, you're going to have some flooding problems.
In 1967, this reporter was then a young, svelte reporter news director of KRIO McAllen, and you'll now see a picture of that fact on the screen. At that point in time, I must tell you, we thought once the high winds had passed that we had dodged the bullet, so to speak. That was not the case because the flood water from Mexico, the rainwater that accumulated, flooding northwest McAllen, airport McAllen, all the way through North Edinburgh, and then the entire Rio Grande Valley was another matter altogether. Now, earlier on News Channel 5, Mrs. Gamboa, resident of San Carlos, had a complaint to file against Hidalgo County leaders, including the commissioner we have on the set with us here today. We're going to run that report, get his response.
Are still feeling the effects of the flooding. Our Tony Castellan has more on this News Channel 5 update.
Aquí no podías ni caminar.
The waters have disappeared from Angelina Gamboa's yard, but her life will never be the same. She's now homeless.
Mi casa estaba aquí. Era una...
My home was here. It was a trailer. Everything was here, but it is destroyed.
She has nothing left here but memories. Bad ones. This is how her neighborhood looked 2 weeks ago. Everything underwater.
Triste me siento porque pues...
I feel bad. No one wants to help. All the water came from the canal.
Hidalgo County leaders say a bad drainage system and a low-lying area are the culprits of the waters that chase dozens of people out of here. County leaders pump the water out, but Gamboa wishes they could do more.
It would be nice if the county at least supplied caliche or something, but they don't want to help.
We talked to county leaders, and they say they are in the beginning stages of plans to revamp the drainage system. But for now, that's the best they can do. Gamboa can only look forward and try to rebuild again.
We have to live here. We have no choice but to start construction.
That was News Channel 5's Tony Castellan reporting. County leaders say they hope to get a bond package approved to fix the drainage problem at that San Carlos neighborhood.
Now, Commissioner, this resident of your county says that leaders of your county seem to be not very concerned about not doing anything about the drainage problem.
Well, Ron,
your reaction?
We've done quite a bit. Commissioner Garza, that location happens to be in Commissioner Garza precinct for the precinct. He came to court last week. Commissioner Garza requested the county judge to call an emergency meeting, and we passed a resolution allowing Commissioner Garza to spend some monies waiving all the requirements to
bidding processes,
the whole works in order to respond to an emergency.
Isn't this bond election, the $100 million bond election, a response to the drainage problem?
The better response is the bond issue. But let me continue. Commissioner Garza gave a report yesterday in Commissioner's Court. Last week, the court approved the emergency matter. From then till Tuesday, he reported that he has spent, or the county has invested, $198,000 addressing the flooded situation in that area.
Not a resident of Hidalgo County, but it'd be my attitude that if Mrs. Gamboa wants to do something, anyone else watching this program wants to do something to protect their homes, residences, places of business, their jobs, then they can either go to the polls and vote for this particular bond election, $100 million first time out, or they can vote against this bond election on the November 7th ballot. You've analyzed the Beulah report done by the Army Corps. You saw what happened to South Texas the last time we did have a major direct hit by a tropical storm or hurricane. You've analyzed over the last 4 or 5 days what happened then, what could happen now. What would happen to the economy if we had a major tropical storm, maybe something coming off the Pacific coast, meeting up with something over the Gulf Coast, maybe not a hurricane, and drop 4 or 5 inches of rain, which these people in Hidalgo County tell us will flood, cause 50,000, 60,000 people to be evacuated south of Expressway 83. Sounds pretty devastating to me. What's been your read of the economic impact?
Well, if there was another event on the scale of Beulah, 20 to 25 inches of rain or across the entire valley, the impact would be quite substantial. If you adjust for both population increases that we've seen in the valley since then and the increase in residential property values, the 30 million or the 11 million or so of residential loss then would be closer to around 250 million in a similar event now. And it wouldn't have to just be a major hurricane, as you suggest, that there could be a Tropical Storm Allison, that struck the Houston area a few years ago, produced rainfall amounts on the scale of Beulah, and there could be other events that could produce rainfalls similar to what we had seen in Beulah. And like as you suggested, in lesser events, the flooding obviously wouldn't be as tremendous, but there could still be substantial flooding. And so the improvements that are being suggested, they're undertaking this bond issue, could help not just in the event of a Katrina major hurricane type event, but probably on the scale of every several years when there is a minor or a less severe flooding event. I don't want to say minor because I would suggest it's never minor if your property is being flooded.
A flooded area is an area that is totally shut down. Is that correct? Economically,
yes, yeah.
Everything stops.
At least during the period of the flooding, yes, usually.
Repairs can't be made, power can't be restored.
Mm-hmm.
Then come the mosquitoes, then come health problems.
Right. And most significantly, business interruptions. And business interruptions can be huge compared to the size of the damages. When you mentioned that Beulah was a damage of about $1.2 billion in today's terms, that's just like the property damage that was imposed. Studies show that the business interruption cost, the fact that businesses get shut down, many small businesses never reopen after they shut down during a hurricane. Those can be equal to or greater than the actual physical damages. We don't really have a good handle always on the business costs, but they can be significant. And there can also be long-term effects in terms of outside perceptions of the area. I mean, surely Katrina wasn't very good for the New Orleans Chamber of Commerce, and so a similar event would certainly hurt the Valley's economic competition versus other areas in Texas and in the country.
Now, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, was standing on the banks of the Rio Grande, and this reporter asked him a question. Basically, the purpose of the question, we're going to run it now, was to let him know, as the head also of FEMA, as Secretary of Homeland Security, that the Valley is very important and demands and requires and is important enough because of sole source products that the Valley, Reynosa, McAllen, Matamoros, Brownsville, sole source products that the automotive industry can shut down Detroit. Here's that question. If you would think about it, you must realize, obviously, from where you stand, that the air you breathe was in Mexico a few brief minutes ago. And the water that you see behind you is the water supply for the 1 million people who occupy this region called the Rio Grande Valley. Not only that, this region provides sole source products to Detroit and keeps Detroit open under just-in-time delivery or closed if those products are not able to be manufactured. As you can easily see, to attack America, you don't even have to come to America. You don't have to get beyond these men in uniform, swim the river, climb a wall, or anything else. Just put something in that water behind you and you will attack America. Could you see fit to add water utility, vulnerability assessment, monitoring equipment to your security border initiative?
Well, I think what I'm going to say is this. We have, of course, through the State Homeland Security Grant funding process, a whole range of funding for states to make sure they elevate their protection of critical infrastructure. That includes water utilities, includes power plants, and other kinds of critical infrastructure that's important to deal with the issue of a threat to the public safety and welfare.
Now, the Homeland Security Secretary obviously is aware now, based on that question, that the Valley, no longer agriculture as it was during Beulah, now providing sole source products to Detroit and the automotive industry in the nation, could shut down the nation's economy.
At least the auto industry, yes, definitely, and that's part of the ripple effects of a hurricane, and it can have impacts way beyond just the affected area. We certainly saw that with Katrina, at the disruption of oil refining and production, and so yes, there's a national interest in protecting the valley from flooding on the scale of Beulah.
Indeed, just like Commissioner Palacios says, during Beulah, this was an ag area. It's not the same today.
The dynamics have changed dramatically in the last 40 years. We're no longer an agrarian economy. We've grown. Hidalgo County's grown, what, 300%? Yep. We've paved over a lot of the area that used to be farmland. That water now has to have a place to go.
And then farmland was sucking up all that rainwater.
Well, we've lost 80% of our saturation. You're talking about 20% blacktop, 80% farmland, and now it's switched over.
Where's it going to go?
And where's the water going to go? So,
Dan, anything else economically that you think we've missed in our questioning of you on the program today that you'd like to add to indicate to this audience how serious to the economy it could be if we have a flood event that causes massive evacuations and homes standing in water for months at a time, as happened last time?
Well, there's certainly, again, beyond the damages that would occur, there's just the disruption of life that can be, probably, if it's hard to put a dollar value on that, but if you had to move out of your home for, say, a month, even if you were fully insured and you got all your damages repaired, and even if you got compensated for having to live elsewhere for a month, just the personal disruption of our lives would be a pretty significant component in addition to the cost. So, I mean, the damages that you hear reported are just really a part of the overall impact on society of an event like Beulah.
November 7th ballot in Cameron County. On that ballot, you're going to see a Democrat running for re-election. That's incumbent Gilberto Hinojosa, been in office for a number of years, and his Republican challenger, CPA Carlos Cascos of Brownsville, sat on Commissioner's Court 12 years, a former DPS commissioner in Austin, Texas, appointed by Republican Governor Rick Perry. Everyone's surprised when you were appointed to that post. A former Democrat, had really come out as a full Republican at the time the governor put you on that very powerful, one of the most powerful positions in the state of Texas. Why did the governor of Texas put you on that position? Was it somewhat to prepare you for this race against the incumbent judge in Cameron County?
No, as a matter of fact, when the appointment issue came up, politics never came into the picture. We never talked about me switching parties. Nothing of the sort.
That was the rumor around the Rio Grande Valley. You have run against the incumbent county judge once before, and that race ended up with him winning by what, a couple thousand votes?
About 2,000 votes. That's correct.
Why do you think you can win this time, candidate Cascos, as opposed to the last time?
I think a lot of things have transpired over the last 4 years that have hurt the incumbent. There's been a lot of scandals. There's been a lot of issues that have come up. Everything from the Isla Blanca Park issue to the trash issue to the dump site to the county's financial condition. And plus, I think changing parties. I mean, philosophically, I'm the same person that I was when I was a Democrat. I mean, these are philosophical differences. I've always been a conservative, and so I decided to switch parties basically for philosophical reasons.
We also talked to the incumbent Cameron County Judge Gilberto Hinojosa, and this is what he had to say about the candidacy of Carlos Cascos.
I hope that Mr. Cascos will run this time a clean campaign, unlike he did last time. But
how was he not clean last time?
Oh, he just. I mean, it was well known that he ran a very, very mudslinging campaign. I mean, that's never talked about the things that he did. He just talked about all the things that he said I did bad. I think that probably needs to be the main focus of this campaign. What have you done good for our community in terms of progress, and what have you done to advance the agenda of the people of Cameron County? He had 12 years to do it as a county commissioner, and you can look through the agendas of Cameron County for the 12 years, and if you find 10 times that he put an item on the agenda, other than to recognize that he got his necessary hours for a county commissioner school, I'd be surprised. I mean, he was a county commissioner for 12 years where he basically said no. There's not a project that I know of that he pushed as part of the agenda of the growth of Cameron County. Every project that's out there, international bridges, building more parks, working on issues like flooding the Bahia Mar, dealing with bringing a second causeway to Cameron County, a civil service system, all the things that we've been working on, those are all issues that have come out of my administration. And so, I think that's what you need to do to get, we're the 11th largest county in the state of Texas. We've got big issues, big urban issues. You really need to sit there and figure out what you're going to do to move the ball forward. If you don't move the ball forward, you lose the ball game, right? And that's the way it works in football and in government.
So basically, your opponent, the incumbent county judge in Cameron County, says that you were basically the one who just criticized and never had any kind of a positive agenda of your own during the 12 years you were on the court before, when you and he served together at the same time. Your reaction to his comment?
Well, obviously, it was never a problem as far as his complaining about my leadership, as long as I wasn't running against him. All of a sudden, it becomes an issue. First of all, there's a lot of criticism to be availed, on him right now, and it's been like that for a number of years. I think the people have a right to know what has transpired in Cameron County. He's hoping that I don't remind people of some of the snafus that have occurred within the last 2 or 3 years. And it's unfortunate that he believes that, but I don't expect him to say anything different.
So basically, your campaign's a negative campaign, one of criticizing the incumbent, and that somewhat goes with the territory when you're wanting to unseat an incumbent. That's understood in the political game, Carlos. However, now that he has made the claim that you never have a positive agenda, do you have a positive agenda if elected, and if so, what would that agenda be as it relates to having a new direction plan for the court?
Well, first of all, I don't think that, nor do I believe that focusing on the issues that have transpired is a negative agenda. I think pointing out things that have happened is not negative. I think we must remind people what has occurred. As we know, people do have short memories, and sometimes we need to remind them. There's a complex issue here, and one is that of transparency in local government. And right now, I don't believe that there is transparency. And perception a lot of times is reality. And the perception right now is that Cameron County government is a private club. A lot of things are occurring behind closed doors and secrecy. Those are not my comments. Those are comments that I'm hearing as I walk neighborhoods and talk to folks. They just want to have an open government, transparent government, and somebody that's going to take care of their tax dollar.
Do you think you would have any influence on the party in power in Austin and Washington if elected to the judge's post in the county of Cameron?
There's no doubt in my mind that it would be a positive effect on Cameron County. I have direct lines to Austin, not only to TxDOT, but the governor's office, the attorney general's office, and these are important lines to have if we want to get things done in Cameron County. Obviously, partisanship should not play a role in this, but unfortunately in today's environment it does. I believe that me getting elected Cameron County judge will benefit Cameron County in the short run and in the long run.
Carlos Coscos, thank you
you
for being with us on Valley Newsline again, and your second race against the incumbent county judge in Cameron County, Gilberto Hinojosa. You can also watch this program anytime 24/7 after you see it on News Channel 5 at valleynewsline.tv. Tell your friends about it. Thank you for joining us. Till next time, adios.